L after L after L after L. It seems like everything Drake has bragged about or talked about in this beef is just unraveling in front of him. The newest addition to that is how Pharrell just made Drake look more pathetic than ever. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video on the road to 5K. Man, I've been seeing a couple of things regarding this, and we see it as far as Drake, having Pharrell buying Pharrell's chain, different things like that. Kendrick Lamar is saying for P.I. inherit the beef. I've been seeing a bunch of breakdowns of the history of it going all the way back to Birdman and the clips and what happened to that boy. Like, it gets deep. It gets deep. So, Fantastic Hip Hop has provided another video. Let's go ahead and let's check it out.
Now, Drake just can't stay out of controversy recently, as day after day, it seems like between his own declining reputation and status as a rapper to him and his actions finally being addressed by a lot of big names in hip hop culture. All in all, Drake is finally getting his full reckoning in a lot of ways for not just everything that went down between him and Kendrick Lamar, for all the antics and tricks he tried to pull to take some sort of victory in that beef alone, but also for all the other sneak dissing and instigating he has been doing to other artists for the past few years on albums like Her Laws, For All the Dogs, and throughout a ton of his features, and now most recently. Drake's been officially addressed by someone who, while not being directly engaged in conflict with him, still has been one of the most pivotal names in Drake's career in terms of determining where this spiral has been on started and where it's eventually going to end in none other than Pharrell Williams. And now, after years of not just the Kendrick beef, but years of Drake targeting Pharrell because of how bitter he was about the end result of his beef with Pusha T, Drake has finally got what he deserved from Pharrell. But before we get into this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like, it helps me out a ton. And so now with Drake, because Pharrell and Push were such close collaborators and friends, a few years ago it made him figure that he could start something back up or win some sort of ground back in this feud with Push by going after Pharrell, which of course at the core of this mission from Drake, the goal of this was really just to annoy Pharrell until he or Push broke and crashed out on him. And Drake's big attempt at making this happening was when Pharrell was auctioning up his chains for his nonprofit, which is designed to give money to entrepreneurs. Which, when it comes to telling this story, this is a detail that's often lost in all of this situation, but is so important. And as Pharrell put these chains up to help put investment back into other people that would hopefully change their lives, Drake went and bought these chains and then started a 2-year campaign where he would pop out wearing them and pretty much try to show the world and prove the point that he conquered Pharrell, Push, and everything they ever stood for. And with this, we really saw this reach its climax during Drake's Jumbotron Poppin' video from the Her Loss era, where he was repping these chains in so many different shots, and made distinct points in the video to flash them directly to the camera so everyone knew that these are indeed the real and official pieces of jewelry Pharrell used to rock back in the 2000s. And ultimately, following these subliminals that were pushed through visuals, Drake made the situation even messier when he sent Travis Scott a last-minute verse for Utopia for the song Meltdown, and straight up dissed Pharrell and Push on this album as he rapped about buying Pharrell's chains, and then he made a claim that after showing them off, he didn't just do anything with them, but he melted them down. And as Pharrell was literally a featured producer on Travis's Utopia album, this definitely made things complicated. But now fast forward,
and it's just all like, Drake would do some stuff like that. Not saying Drake is the only person who has done that. He's not the only rapper who's done some stuff where either someone on the track will have beef with the feature and the feature's added last minute and they're going back and forth like what was it? Ludacris and T.I. in one track. You've seen it a couple of times, but the way that Drake does it, this is like some super scummy stuff. Some people may be like, "Oh, this is war," da 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 da. But then the last video that I reacted from Fantastic Hip Hop was then people like Skepta who are then making Drake seem like the victim, but it's just all like it's stuff like this. It's grimy stuff like this that why people have the feelings that they want. It's not hating. We're looking at a person's character on and off of wax. Whether he's playing into it as a character because he has his background in acting or whatever, it doesn't matter. This is what you want people to see from you. You know what I mean? Like that's what this is. So the Drake stands that sit up there and be like, "Oh, you're a hater, you're this, you're this." We're looking at character. We're looking at character and why this is such a trip to see because remove Drake from it, how often do you watch those instant karma compilations or different things like that? There's something that people like seeing the just deserve of someone who is just being a dick. Drake has been a dick. You know, he's moved weird. He's done all of these different things. You know, so it's hard for even if you were a fan and you're not anymore, it's hard to even still try to cut him some slack or different things like that because he's a grown man. He, for one, he doesn't need the slack to be cut, but this is how he is moving, you know. So that's why Kendrick giving him the smackdown that he did, that's why it's so funny. And why people like DJ Academics, Drake, are talking about like trying to get this revenge. Revenge for what? Revenge, you lost. You lost. And you not taking this L is what makes people who may have still been on the fence and still been your fan, you just lost those people because it's just all like, dang. You know, for example, it's almost the same thing that people was critiquing VP Kamala Harris for as far as the night that it was pretty much shown that she had lost and she had all those people at the university waiting for her to address something, but she didn't. And, you know, there can be grace for that, you know, but I think they were saying in the human history that just hasn't happened. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say with the whole January 6th and everything like that, I don't remember. I would have to look. I don't remember if Donald Trump had did that to Joe Biden when Donald Trump had lost. I don't quite remember, but we can look that up. But what a lot of people were saying was that what Kamala did just hadn't been done before, you know, and it's just all like, even if you feel you were robbed or da 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 da, you can't deny the L. At the end of the day, it was a L. And I feel like it's the same with Drake, except he's not even acknowledging it. He may acknowledge it in little things as far as like, oh, we gonna, you know, part two, you know, second round, you know, I got it this time, da 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 da. And it's just like the the level of delusion is wild. It's so freaking wild. So yeah, no, this is what Drake deserves. You know, like this is literally doing all the weird and just messed up backstabbing behind the scenes stuff. His character is chopped, you know what I mean? And it's just to me, I think when first listening to Drake, because I had heard of Drake because I actually used to watch Degrassi. I actually like, hey, I'm 33 now. So around that time, I was a teenager. I was like in the eighth grade. Um, so I'd seen everything in the seasons probably before he was even Wheelchair Jimmy. There was a little kind of like side behind the scenes show, and it was showing Drake's studio, you know, and that was the earliest form as far as knowing that Drake was doing music. Then I got a double XL magazine, and it was like it was during that time where I want to say he dropped the comeback season. There was a project I feel like before that, but when I had just got onto him and then went back, and then the comeback season, this is around when he was working with Trey Songz a lot. And then there was the whole thing as far as with Wayne, and literally saw everything blow up. And then after, like around that time, was when I had found out about Kendrick Lamar. Overly Dedicated was the first project I heard. It was on Two Dope Boys. They posted it, and the cover art, I was just all like, "Yo, this is dope." And there was not his face on it, nothing like that. What drew me was the cover art. And I was like, okay, this is dope. And then when they was, working together, Poetic Justice, Buried Alive, all these different things, I was like, dope. But then, we already know the story, the freaking back and forth, the day BT freestyle, everything like that. So we see all of this go down. And to see what I originally saw with Drake that made me a fan, and just see that just turn into what it is now. Honestly, it's sad. It's sad, but it's such a trip, man. It's such a
This year,
trip.
and all of this came full circle, is when Kendrick Lamar released his first full-on Drake diss track, Euphoria. He called out Drake for the strange way he has been taunting Pharrell over and over again after his beef with Pusha T, and then pretty much told Drake that he shouldn't come at Pharrell anymore because he is inheriting the beef for him. And now, even with this warning, Drake did not stop taunting Pharrell, as on his supposed to be career-ending diss for Kendrick, Family Matters, which of course flopped. Drake mentioned him here again and sent out a jab that the entire world was watching to see, which was when Drake told Kendrick that if he wanted to take over the beef for Pharrell, Kendrick would have to go himself and get Pharrell's legacy out of Drake's house. And now, while these bars were responding directly to what Kendrick said, in the Family Matters video, we see one of Drake's OVO members rocking the same chains from Pharrell that Drake rocked back in the Jumbotron Poppin' video, and then also with even more chains that belonged to Pharrell on him this time. And this was seemingly another visual jab that was thrown at Pharrell to try and insult him, his legacy, and Pusha T, while also, of course, insulting Kendrick at the same time. And now, after Pharrell quietly responded to Drake this summer with a song from the Despicable Me 4 soundtrack where he silently just reminded Drake of the fact that despite all of his efforts to try and make him snap, that he is the one sitting back and watching Drake's career now implode because of his own failure throughout his entire beef with Kendrick and through all of the other poor choices he made in his career over the past few years. And now, as in this time where everyone was coming at Drake, Pharrell was just too involved with big brand partnerships between his role in doing the soundtrack for Despicable Me 4, doing his own Lego movie about his life, and designing for Louis Vuitton to drag down everything he was working for to get involved in such a messy beef with Drake. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the type of brands that Pharrell was working with, his deals with companies like Lego or Illumination just would have folded. Because no family brand wants to be anywhere near the types of names that Drake was being called. Now that he has completed all of those quests and he has been named as the Designer of the Year from GQ, Pharrell's year of just pushing the boundaries for what someone in the hip-hop space can do is now officially over. And as Pharrell is wrapping things up right now and recapping his year, he sat down in this interview with GQ and answered some questions about the current state of his career and things going on around his name. And for the first time, he has finally addressed everything that has been going on between him and Drake, and with the answers he has given, Drake is probably crashing out and fuming hearing this, because after an in-depth conversation between Pharrell and GQ, where he is providing such deep answers about all of his interests and creative endeavors, Pharrell got asked, 2 years ago you founded an online auction platform. To launch it, you got all of your iconic custom jewelry stuff from, let's call it your hubris era, out of storage and sold it. What's that stuff weighing on you? Which, first off, Pharrell answered to this, I didn't realize. You never realize how much all the stuff you have weighs on you, but it does. You don't know it until you get rid of it. The muscles in my back now, they work without straining. When you let that go, man, you feel so free. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the world, it's still there. And whatever happens to them, happens to them. Which, first off from this, Pharrell is already showing that he doesn't really care about these chains at all. And then from here, the conversation shifts as the interviewer says, in this case, Drake buys a bunch of it, which then all Pharrell says back is, sure. And then following up on this, the journalist asks, how and when did you find out he was the buyer, and were you like, is this for, and before the journalist can even finish what he is saying? Pharrell butts in saying no, because I think beyond all of the ongoings, at the heart of it all, he is a fan of music. He is a fan of the history of what it is, and I happen to be a part of that, and those artifacts are a part of it. So pretty much what Pharrell is doing here now is calling Drake a fanboy and is not even getting into the mud of the issues, which is a clear power move on his end to disarm
Yeah.
any strength that he had left. And then from here,
Exactly. Exactly. This video is sponsored by yours truly, Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction. And for the month of October on my Mr. Composition Music YouTube page, I am doing one-shot music video a day. So for 31 days, there will be a new one-shot video, and the goal is to get that channel to 1,000 subscribers. So make sure to check that out, subscribe, show some love to the videos, and drop a comment, man. Let me know that you came from this channel. But anyways, guys, back to the video. If y'all want to listen to the whole thing, I'll leave the link in the description. But exactly. What did Kendrick say? You a fan, you a fan, you a fan. Because this was a weird, I wouldn't even say a weird obsession. I would, sometimes we got to separate as far as the context matters. So I think that a person who appreciates history, especially hip hop history, if they, I don't know, maybe created a museum and they bought these things and they had it into the museum, but it's kind of like a weird move. I guess maybe it's a power play to be like, okay, I'm gonna purchase these things of hip hop and I got them in my crib, like boom, I'm the man or whatever. I don't know, but it was just a weird move. Like there are collectors, people collect things. It's not him collecting these things and him being a part of hip hop. I don't think is the issue per se. But he gets very specific things, and it's just all like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. And then I don't know, it's like you have to you have to look at, okay, why did y'all sell it if that's the case? And in Pharrell's case, this was, for a charity, different things like that. With other things, whether it be Tupac's ring or different things like that, it's just all like, why? If anything, just make a hip hop like museum, or for example, maybe have a part of your how. Well, if you don't want people there, I get that, but you can get a location heavily guarded and everything like that, and just have a museum, and people could come through. I feel like that would do more, but when you take in this almost like in this selfish way, that's why you get the phrase or the name doing colonizer stuff, because it just, it's just weird. Let me know what y'all think in the comments as far as that. Do you think it's weird Drake purchasing these different things from hip hop? But yeah, this right here just shows as far as like how in real life, just like no one really cares. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to this hip hop stuff, yes, it's hip hop, different things like that. But when you're doing power moves like Pharrell, you just don't have time to be that petty. And really, Drake doesn't have the time to be that petty. But it's just all like, if that's all you're doing, and not trying to actually do something, then hey, who am I to say? But we're watching it play out in one of the most interesting ways. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments. It's Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction, back at it with another reaction. Make sure to like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video on the road to 5K. Make sure to check out the description for my music, books, comics, and more. All right, y'all. Peace.